Welcome back to another episode of Not the Same, where I bring you true stories of real people sharing their personal testimonies of transformation. I am your host, Rachel Heimberg. I am super excited to announce that today's episode is the 20th episode of Not the Same. I can't believe that it's been that long already. As I take a moment to look back at each individual testimony, I'm so grateful to every person willing to share their story with me. It has been a great journey so far, and I am privileged to have this opportunity. I'm extremely grateful for everyone that has been listening since the beginning and for those that have joined along the way. If this happens to be the first time you've heard us, great. I hope this becomes your new favorite. We are available on all major platforms, so pick your favorite and like, subscribe, follow, and share. If you would like to reach out, the best way to do so is through the dedicated podcast email. That email is notthesame.cfm@gmail.com. Last week, we heard a very raw telling from Jacques and his journey from addiction to salvation. I hope that it encouraged you about the hope we have in even the worst circumstances. Today, I have with me Cherie, Jukskei. Cherie and her husband are currently pastoring a church in Shawela, Soweto, not too far from El Dorado Park. When we got here in 2021, they were the assistants here in Eldos and were such an incredible blessing to us. We've grown quite close, but beyond the basics, I don't know too much about her life before salvation. So I'm eager to get started. Cherie, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for agreeing to speak with me on last minute notice. So thanks.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. It's an honor being here.
Just start with your childhood, how you grew up, your mom, and how that progressed.
Okay, so I am the only daughter of my mom. We are 3 kids. I've got 2 big brothers, so I'm the baby. We initially first lived in Bella Vista, my mom and I. And then later on, when my mom's sister got sick, Auntie Charmaine, we moved to Eldos so that my mom can take care of her. But my mom was married to my 2 brothers' dad. So my mom lived with them. Whatever happened there, then she moved out and they separated, and then I was conceived.
Okay, so your mom was married to your brother's dad.
Yes.
But that's not your dad.
It's not my dad. I have my own dad. He does live in El Dorado Park, surprisingly. I've never met him, Rachel. I've spoken over the phone with him a couple of times. Face to face, no. What would happen is he would call and ask for us to meet. I would be in primary school, I remember. I recorded it as a routine checkup. Like every 5 years, literally every 5 years, this guy would call and my mom would never badmouth him. She told me about him, but every time we were supposed to meet, he would never show up. So there my mom and I are at Wimpy or Steers or whatever, waiting for this guy, and he wouldn't show up.
Wow. Was this like a one-night stand?
They were in a relationship. She said when I was born, you know how it goes. Now that the child is there, things go south, things don't work out. You're not helping support or whatever. So
did they ever live together?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they never lived together.
But she was already separated from your brother's father.
Yes.
Okay.
My mom has always been independent, so she had her own place and took care of me by herself. So yeah, he just never showed up ever. I remember it was in 2019, December. We were supposed to meet. I mean, I'm like 20-something years old. I'm an adult, and then you call, we speak, and in my heart, I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. Let me reconcile, let me forgive. As a Christian, I know what to do. Rachel, that day I made myself look so pretty. I put on makeup. I left Logie and Shy with my mom. I said I'm going to the bank. I had to run a few errands for church as well. I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And again, you don't show up.
Wow.
So I cut him off. I told him the next time you come looking for me, please just make sure that you're rather saved, because like, what do we have to offer each other outside of Christ? And because now you're messing with me. For me, it's the issue of distorted viewpoint of God because of his absence. So that's what I felt. And up to this day, I feel maybe let's rather just keep the distance. I'm not going to go looking for him. He knows where to find me if he's ready.
Yeah.
Because for me, that would be opening up a can of worms. It's not just for myself, but also for my girls.
Yeah.
You know, girls, you can't make empty promises to them.
Yeah, especially because they don't know that lifestyle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they don't need to be introduced to all that nonsense.
Yes.
So what about your relationship with your brother's dad? Was he ever in the picture? Did he kind of step in at all?
No, my mom and I lived in Bella Vista, like I said. So
Without your brothers?
without my brothers. So when my mom left the marriage, she left them.
Okay, how old were they?
They were teenagers already. They were in high school.
So what's the age difference between you and the brother right above you?
My brother is almost 40. Yeah, there's quite a gap.
About 10 years maybe?
Yes, Micah's dad just turned 42 this year. So there's quite a gap between us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm 31. So the relationship with their dad, he was just a nice guy, Shame. I understood from the onset that's their dad, and yeah.
Okay, so basically it was just you and your mom.
It was just my mom and I. Yeah.
And then you guys moved out somewhere in Bella Vista.
We lived there for a while.
Is that where you started school?
I started school that side. And then, like I said, when my mom's sister got sick, we moved to Aldo's. My mom also tried to patch things up with her husband because they weren't divorced, but it didn't work out as well. So we ended up just living at my grandma's house with my sick aunt.
Did you ever go back and stay with him for a while when they were trying to patch things up?
Yes, both my mom and I. All of us, yes.
Do you remember that?
Blended family, yes.
How was that situation?
It was okay. There wasn't any violence in the home. It was normal, but he had a bit of a drinking problem.
How did you feel? I'm trying to process this through at a young child's viewpoint. Did you feel, oh, wow, I have a family?
It kind of did feel like that. I was excited because I was with my brothers. It was nice, actually. It was okay. But I didn't look much into it. My grandmom's house was right up the road from where we lived, trying to reconcile with my mom's ex-husband. So that was the house my mom and him bought together and built, you know? So the transition from there to my grandma's house where my aunt lived, it was just like, okay, that auntie is sick, so we're going to stay there and take care of her. And then...
So as a kid, I'm getting that you were just pretty laid back. Like, okay, this is what we do now.
This is what we're doing, yes.
So there was nothing that seemed strange. Did you feel the loss or just your mom created an environment?
She shielded me from a lot of things. So before she also got saved, she was in abusive relationships. I did see her be in a relationship with someone that would be abusive. Not right in front of me, but, you know, you could see the scars or whatever.
So this is after just taking care of your aunt?
Way before we moved there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when she got saved, things just became so much better. There was so much light. It was right before we moved to Aldo's. The move to Aldo's was when she got saved.
How did that happen, her getting saved?
My brother, he witnessed to her.
And how did he get saved? Because he's living with his dad.
Yes. I'm not quite sure how he got saved. All I know is that I just remember him always praying in the house because he came to live with us, and then always going to church and witnessing to my mom. And then suddenly my mom is also starting to go to church, and we would go to home cells, what we call Bible studies.
What church was it that she got saved in?
PPC Extension 9. That's where we went to church. But
maybe share with me, how did you notice the difference at home? Was there a difference?
There was.
Okay.
She used to drink, she used to party. And yes, as a child, you would go with her because it's just the two of us. She can't leave me alone in the house. So whoever's house party we're going to, I'll be there. There's other kids there. Okay, yeah, we're playing. Our parents are getting drunk out. It's normal.
Wow. See, that's the thing. I think the difference is that we're in South Africa. Things that are normal to you aren't normal to me.
Yes.
You say it like everyone should know. No, this is not normal.
This is not normal.
I know it happens everywhere, even in the US, but it's not normal. You don't take your children and leave them to go play and whatever, get into trouble while you're
doing your thing. Yeah. She was very overprotective, though.
Okay.
She's always been overprotective. But yeah, that's how it used to be.
So even during the chaos, you still felt safe?
Very. I think because of a lot of the things that she's been through, she was very, very protective over me. Like, I wasn't even allowed to sleep over. I wasn't even allowed to go to a youth by myself.
Even at church?
Not even at church.
Yeah.
No. The very first time I went out to youth by myself was with Shannon coming here together.
Wow.
But other than that, she's always been the helicopter mom.
Okay. So you're just going to school. She gets saved. Obviously, she stops drinking.
Yes. We start praying. We start reading the Bible. I remember very well. She taught me herself Psalms 23, Psalms 91.
Yeah. And Micah's dad, what's his name?
Curtis.
And he was saved during this time as well?
Yes. He eventually did backslide.
He's the one that witnesses to your mom. She goes to church. She gets saved.
Yes.
And now you guys move this side.
Yes.
back to El Dorado Park for her sister.
First, to reconcile.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Live right according to the Bible.
Okay, so this was the result of her getting saved.
Yes.
She wanted to reconcile and try to make things right.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then that didn't happen because he was not interested, or?
Yeah, I guess he didn't want to stop drinking or whatever. And then the first opportunity she saw out when my aunt got sick.
Okay, so she moves to your aunt?
Yes, just right up the road. She didn't move immediately, like just checking up on her and whatever. And then the situation got a bit bad and serious, and then she moved.
So did you change schools?
From Bella Vista to El Dorado Park, yes, I had to change schools. That was grade 1. As a result of my mom being unsaved, I had to repeat grade 1. And
what do you mean as a result of her being unsaved?
Had she been saved beforehand, I wouldn't have had to repeat grade 1 because she was impatient. There wasn't that help. Just go to school, you're on your own. The teachers will teach you.
Okay.
But when she got saved, it was different. She was more hands-on.
Okay.
With me, my learning, school-wise, and so on. Okay, so we moved schools and she's now saved. We're going to church. She would witness to anyone and anything.
Wow.
We continued going to Bible studies or home cells. I remember even as a child, just listening to her and also learning to pray, kneeling beside her during prayer time or whatever. Then she stopped for a while.
Why did she stop going?
So my stepdad, the guy that she was married to when she passed away. So they had a fling back in Bella Vista. I remember seeing this face, right? So she gets saved and all that. Remember I said she got radically saved? And she even to the point of wanting to reconcile with her husband and whatever. Okay, this uncle disappeared for a while. But then when my mom's sister gets sick and she passes on, and then this uncle pops up again.
Chasing her down.
You see? So she's been going to church, and I do remember there was a time where I overheard her speaking to him. I think it was outside. But because she's my mom and I'm always around her, I do remember saying she doesn't want to continue with this relationship. She wants to live for God and serving in spirit and in truth. And this is not working out. And he said, yeah, it's because people at church are judging you. So the type of person that he is, he knows a lot about the Bible. He's very religious. And he convinced her and told her that people at church are judgmental and they shouldn't watch your life. As long as you are serving God, that's all that matters. And
like manipulative.
Since then, she's just been a mess before long. And then she went to church on and off.
Okay. He was trying to justify sin.
Yes. And she was convicted and she really wanted to do right. But he had a very strong hold on her.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, we see that with sexual sin. Once you open that door,
yes,
it's very difficult to cut it off because the devil uses that we are connected to that person. And so obviously it would have been very difficult. It's doable, but it's difficult to just cut it. So he worms his way back in.
He worms his way back in. She's unstable now in her faith, going to Sunday school, going to church, learning about what sin is, what God judges as wrong and whatever. I felt convicted. I felt like, this is wrong. Nonetheless, it's my mom. You don't have a say, As a child, you just go with the flow. I knew it was wrong.
Did you ever ask her, why aren't we going to church anymore? Or why are we not going to church so often?
No, I didn't. But I do recall when I was able to go to church by myself. You see how kids are in elders? They walk by themselves, they do whatever. I found my own way to church. I would meet my brother. My brother would be at church. He's in ministry. He's always been saved, living for God as well. Because we a religious society, going to church and whatever, Keegan was the one that found Christ and he stuck.
Okay. At the same church?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He's the head of media there now.
Okay.
So I know when I go to church, Big Brother's there. So just a high five or whatever, he'll give me a thumbs up or come and greet me or whatever. But I knew that my brother's at church. So I'd go to Sunday school, go to church.
What age was this? What grade?
This would
10?
now be grade 5, grade 6. Okay. I would be 11, 12.
Almost high school, not quite.
Not quite, yeah. Then I'll be going to church by myself, reading the Bible for myself.
And did you ever pray a sinner's prayer at that point when you were that small? Like challenge you to
get saved, yeah. Okay. I recall having my own encounter with God to a point where I used to witness to my friends and they would call me boring.
Wow.
I wish at that time I already came to the Porter's house. I think I would have been saved for longer.
Yeah.
Now we're living at that house. Life goes on and then I go to high school.
So during this time, did he ever live with you guys? And now are they like an actual couple or is it just on and off?
He's a married man. That was the big issue and the big deal here.
When he's trying to convince your mom that it's okay.
Yes. He even told her that he can have 2 wives, and just madness, Rachel.
Wow.
But yeah.
Religion can be twisted in all kinds of ways, for sure.
In all kinds of ways. So they have their thing going. I'm going to church by myself. She would come every now and then. She would have episodes of she wants to serve God. She was really trying.
Yeah.
But the hold was stronger. People will start talking. Now you start feeling guilty. Now it's not just because he said, and now the devil starts making what he's saying make sense.
Wow. So now you go to high school, and
so now I start drifting because I like things. Not physically, but in my mind, in my flesh, worldly music. Always also wanting to be part of a vibe, also wanting to try smoking hookah pipe and all these things. I must say, by the grace of God, I've never drifted so far to a point where I've indulged in the things of this world, the smoking, the drinking, fornication. Your God really, really had his hand on me. He really, really, really kept me. That's what I can say. Then I become religious because now I think I'm fine. I'm okay because I know how to pray. I can still pray, and it doesn't matter what I do because God still loves me. So let me tell you a bit about life at home. It's grandma's house. I was telling Shiloh and Logie the other day how privileged they are to be in a home where it's just them and they can have their own bedroom and their own beds. So it's my mom and I, her sister, her 3 kids, her other sister, her 2 kids, her other sister who passed on. She had 5 kids. And here's my mom. She's the only one working. That's where he also came in because he brought money.
Okay.
That's where the hold also got stronger. He helped carry the burden. And there's all these people in the house.
How big was this house?
It's a 3-bedroom house, a normal house here in Aldos. I counted it the other day. We were about between 13 and 15 because when those others come to visit.
Wow.
We'd end up being 15. I know I slept with my mom most of the time. Every hen with her little chicks. Whoever can sleep on the floor will sleep on the floor on a mattress. But everyone had a place to sleep.
Wow.
What was lunchtime like? It was fun and exciting. My mom was a good cook. She knew how to make big portions. Yeah, so there would always be enough food, miraculously. I don't know how we survived, but by God's provision, there was always. Not what we wanted, but what we needed. There would be times of lack. There would be times where there isn't.
But you never felt
I never felt it. When you are used to something like just eating bread and tea is okay, as long as we had something to eat.
Yeah.
Other people have worse, But it was really tough because now I did feel like robbed of my own mother because now she has got like 5 other kids to take care of. So my aunt's elders already about late 20s. So she also had a child. So my mom obviously had to legally adopt the other 4, see to it that they finish school. Her attention is divided now, you understand? Legal guardianship, she had to have.
Did your aunt pass away?
She passed away, leaving the 5.
So your mom adopted your cousins?
Yes, so she became their legal guardian.
Okay.
It was tough.
And how old were you then?
I was 11. I remember I went on a school trip and coming back, and then she explained to me that she's now going to not just be my mom, but that our little family is a bit bigger.
So how was that for you?
I felt betrayed because why didn't you wait for me to get back? This doesn't make sense. And I felt like it's unfair. I already don't have much of you because you're always working. We already live in this house that's so crowded. Okay.
What was their ages?
Okay, the 3 were much older than myself. My cousin Nicole, she was maybe 2 years older or 3 years older. Not much older. And then there was Kristen, the baby. So it was like I had a little baby sister.
So you're right in the middle of the 2 then?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember Kristen was a lot of the times very needy. She was very sickly. It was just chaos, Rachel. I did feel like sidelined, and that's where my loneliness came in, where I suffered rejection. Not that my mom ever rejected me directly, but, just in my mind.
Yeah. So that's basically when your life took a major shift.
Emotionally, yes.
And obviously that plays out spiritually. So it was before high school
It was before high school, yes.
So that makes sense. It made you vulnerable once you get to high school. Now you want to try all these things and be like other people.
Yes, but I didn't have a chance because she was very strict, very militant. You're not going to do any nonsense.
So you wanted to, but you didn't.
I didn't have the opportunity. I rebelliously felt like I'm being robbed of my life. But when I look back, I actually thank God for the way she was. She saved me from a lot.
Oh, for sure.
She saved me from a lot. And also her being so overprotective.
So I'm assuming you never were allowed to go play in the neighborhoods with the kids?
No. Furthest I could go was outside in the streets, right in front of the house. Like, remember when Chanel said she would always sit in front of the house?
Yeah.
That's as far as I could go. Going to my friends, if she knows a friend, if she knows the girl's mother,
Okay.
it's fine. And that would be like just in the next street, but not further than that.
So once you get into high school, is that where Shannon comes in?
That's where Shannon comes in. So, shame, my mom really tried to give me the best day. I went to a Model C school in Randburg. That was for grade 8, 9, and 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy. I could see that she's really struggling. Remember, she's got all these people to take care of at home.
And she's paying high school fees now?
For Model C.
Yeah.
It's not your local government school. I would get called into the office. Your school fees are in arrears. We need to send you home and whatever. That would be so embarrassing, but it felt okay because I'm not by myself. There are other kids there too. End of grade 10, going into grade 11 is when I transitioned from that school to a school in El Dorado Park. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Listen, we can't afford this, so let's spare me the embarrassment. Let's just.
So you were like fine.
I was fine, but also not fine because the other school had more opportunities. There's a vast difference, as you've noticed, with public schools and your Model C schools and your private schools. Big difference in learning syllabuses and so forth.
Mm-hmm. And just care per student.
Exactly. Yeah. So I met Shannon when I was in grade 9. He was chasing me down.
So how did you meet him then if you were going to this other school?
Shannon used to be friends with the guy next door to our house.
Okay.
I've known them like they were those boys.
What do you mean, those boys?
Those boys, those loud boys, those boys that are always with the hookup pipe, those boys that your mom, she doesn't want you to end up with those boys. And my mom would always also shout at them and chase them away. So we didn't have a wall around our house. It was just open plan. Here's Damien's house. Here's our house. Our garage is here. Damien's driveway is here. So their garage is a bit further in. They would sit at Damien's house, but in front of our garage, making noise with the boombox, playing music, laughing loud, being obnoxious, being rude, smoking this thing that my mom doesn't like, and.
She would chase them away, like,
get away, go sit at your mother's houses or whatever, you know? So.
Did you ever notice Shannon then?
I didn't have an interest in my mind. You know, when you are outside of Aldo's, you get a different mindset. And the mindset I had was, I don't want to be like anybody in Aldo's. I promised myself to be the first person in my family to go to university, you know? I just didn't want to be the normal person. I didn't want to end up being like everybody else. And I didn't want a guy from Aldo's. I didn't want to end up with anyone from Aldo's. I was going to find myself some person out there, maybe a white guy.
A rich guy.
A rich guy, not this guy from Aldo's or any guy from Aldo's. So I had no interest in Shannon whatsoever. For some reason, he said he saw me when I was in grade 7 already. I was very skinny and he said to himself, that's going to be my girlfriend one day.
Wow.
So Shannon comes into the picture when I get sent to the shop. Remember, I don't go out. I'm always inside the house. Then he'll come running after me, trying to chat me up, trying to impress me, just bothering me. Then he'll walk me to the shop and walk me back. And he was a nuisance. He bugged me a lot. So it was this one time, it was grade 9. It was also a December. So I decided, no, let me just speak to the guy. Let me just give him a chance. So we're friends, just talking. And then he reveals that his birthday is on the 19th of December. And I'm like, oh, mine is on the 18th of December. Okay, fine. We've got something in common. We start talking. So now he doesn't bother me that much. So now he's chilled. He's not asking me out anymore. He's not telling me that I'm pretty. He wants me to be his girlfriend. And no, he's not doing that anymore.
And this was just if you had to go to the shop, he'd walk with you.
Yes. Or when I'm coming from my friends or whatever.
Of course, he's not allowed to your house because your mom would have shouted him.
By that time, he was so sneaky to get close to me. He became friends with my cousin, Junaid.
Okay.
So now he's coming to our house looking for Junaid. So,
I see.
Yes. And Junaid would be in the house. You know how boys are. Come inside. And then now Shannon is inside the house. And I'm there, I'm wearing a duke and I'm like
Yeah.
I also don't care because I'm not interested in Shannon in any case. So now I don't even care what I look like when Shannon.
You're just friends.
This is before I lightened up to him.
Okay.
We became friends. I remember the end of that year. Again, I get sent to the shop. It was like 8 o'clock at night, 7:30, 8-ish. The shop next door didn't have what I needed, so I went down to the shop down the road. So he walked with me. We're conversating, he's making jokes, I'm laughing, and it's just all nice. So he tries again, he asks me out. I'm like, let me give him a chance. In my mind, I was saying, let me just give him to say that at least he had an opportunity to be my boyfriend, or I was his girlfriend at one point in life.
Yeah.
And I told myself, it probably won't even last long. I don't attend school here. It's not going to see much of me, so nothing will come from this relationship. Then he asks me out and I say yes, and he's over the moon, and I'm like, we're just testing it. We'll just see how it goes. Then end of grade 10, moving from the Model C school, my mom asks him, because now she knows that we're dating, or she's acting dumb. Like I told you, he's been coming into the house.
He's a very likable guy, though. So I can imagine how your mom reluctantly was like, okay, I have to like this guy.
Yes.
Because I don't want to, but he's here all the time.
Exactly. So now he's friends with Junaid. So he's always at the house now. And now that we're dating, he's always at the house. So he's there and we're talking about schools. Which school do I need to go to? I made peace that, okay, fine. Financially, we're not affording this. I would love to say there, but logic and sense, let me just transition this side. I'm thinking about a few schools. So now me being the bougie me, I don't want to come to school close to home, this side in Extension, and I want to go there. I want to go to the blue school in Extension, opposite the police station.
6, right?
Yes. Or Lanchavale or anything far. Then he's like, no, it's dangerous. And he's telling her all the bad things that can happen on my way to school and the robbing and
he wasn't wrong though.
He wasn't wrong, but then he convinced her to let me come to the school where he's at.
Okay,
so initially then he would pick me up for school with his legs.
With his legs, that's nice.
And then we'll walk to school together and come back from school together.
And he was just devoted to you.
Yes.
Like this
and that
whole
was
time.
2010. He was in grade 12. I was in grade 11. Onto the scene comes his friend Melissa. She invites us to church.
What do you mean onto the scene?
In the community, I used to see her. I knew her face. I knew her, a little bit. Not personally, not on a personal level. So they're in the same class. So she witnesses to him all this time and she invites him to the youth night. And that's my first time coming to youth.
So she invites him, but both of you come together?
Yes, obviously I'm going to come. And he asked my mom. I didn't ask. She says yes. And we come to church. He gets saved. Me being religious, I didn't think or feel the need to get saved because in my mind I'm saved.
I think the real reason he came was why? There was... This is the only part I know. The free food, let's go.
Yes. And he did smoke a joint before coming to church.
So let's pause here. So you're this good girl. You've obviously done nothing. Like you said, you never smoked, you never drank, you never did any of this. But Shannon, I know, I don't want to get into his testimony too much because I do want to have him on later.
Yeah.
But he was the opposite of you.
The total opposite. Coming back from school, Shannon and his friends, Keelan and the other guys, would stop and buy weed. And then we'll go to the park and they will smoke their weed. Obviously, I'm not getting any weed.
But you would just stand there with them.
But I'm there, myself and Anisha. We didn't even like each other at the time. But she's Keelan's girlfriend. I'm Shannon's girlfriend. We're just there in the vibe.
And you just would stand there until they're done?
It's on our way home, so it's part of the routine.
Yeah.
I knew that, okay, he's going to stop to buy a smoke or whatever. It was normal.
Was the bad boy kind of appealing for you?
It was appealing, yeah.
Because you said that you had this desire, but there was something that kept you from acting on it. So I wonder if he was the bad side of you.
There was this time when my mom actually went to Kimberley for a funeral or something. And so mom is out of town. Everyone at home. They chilled, they relaxed. All of them are sinners. Everyone is drinking. You know how it's like when mom is out of town.
Yeah.
So Shannon comes and he asks my aunt if he can take me with him to this other party or this bash. And then he took me to this bash, but that was only once. The thing with Shannon and my aunt, they would go grooving together. And she'll come and tell me, I was with your boyfriend last night. What kind of aunt speaks this way? Okay, fine. So they went out partying together and whatever. And she also liked him because he was this guy that could dance. Like you said, Shannon is very hard not to like. So everyone likes him. Everyone is cool with him. Had it not been for salvation, I'm sure he would have dragged me along.
Did he ever force anything on you, like his lifestyle?
No, never. I remember this one time we experimented with alcohol at one of my friend's houses. It was just a cider or two. I was tipsy and he wasn't impressed. He was like, "Father, how could you? What if something happened?" And you know what's going on? I'm like, "Dude, chill. You also do it, so."
Wow. So he liked the fact that you were safe and you were the responsible one.
Yes.
And you liked the fact that he was that dangerous. Yeah, that person.
On edge, yes.
And so this made this odd pairing of, okay, you keep me safe and then he'll keep you on the edge.
You see?
Yeah. So Melissa witnesses to him.
Yes.
She finally is like, come to my church. There's pizza.
Yes.
So then he tells you?
For me, it's an outing. I never get out. I'm going somewhere. Mom said, yes, I'm excited. We come. Did I feel the Holy Spirit? No.
Okay.
Because in my mind, I know all this.
Yeah. But he got saved.
He got saved. We came back to church.
Did you notice an immediate shift?
Just, he was very interested in coming to church. There was never the thing of, let me come with you on Sunday. There was never an interest. But this time, it was like, okay, we're going to church on Sunday. And I'm like, yes, we're going to church. Fine. So we're coming to church. He got saved in March. 2 or 3 weeks after that, one of the girls in church challenged me and I rededicated my life to Christ.
So what was it that was like, okay, you're right? What was the moment where you realized I am just religious?
I did say to her, I am saved. And she asked me, so if you should die right now, knowing very well in your heart where you stand with God, will you make heaven your home? And thinking about it, I'm like, to be honest, no. So not on a religious basis, but on facts. Then I rededicated my life to Christ. But now you must know, Rachel, Shannon, he's got all the freedom. He can come to church all the time. He's committed and dedicated. I want to, but I can't because of my mom.
So your mom still didn't let you go all the time?
No, not all the time. I had to be at home.
What was her reasoning?
Homework, chores. All of a sudden now there's chores. I always used to make sure that I'm on point with my chores, but there would always be another chore. Or we have to go somewhere, or you have to accompany me to ShopRite, or you have to help me with this, that, and the other.
Why do you think that was?
It wasn't so much morning services, but evening services. In her mind, it was like unnecessary maybe for me to be attending evening services. But it was just for a period. I remember in grade 12. Eventually, I got breakthrough, I think half through grade 11, grade 12. Then she eventually said, okay, it's fine. Because then the transport came to pick me up and drop me off. I wouldn't just only go with Shannon.
So to get a little personal, your relationship, obviously you guys were already boyfriend and girlfriend before. And then you had definitely said regarding sexual relationship, you guys hadn't.
No.
So did anything in relationship change once you were in the church?
Yes, he dumped me. He didn't dump me, but we had the talk. We had the talk.
You and him?
No. Pastor Bennett approached him and explained to him, you know, how things work and what this can lead to. You being in a relationship, it can lead to sexual sin. I must say, by God's grace, we never had the opportunity to indulge or cross the line. Like I said, there's so many people at my house. There's so many people at his house. By God's grace.
That's amazing. Because you know each other for so long.
Yes.
And neither of you were saved.
Yes. It was in the pipeline to a point where, in my mind, how I'm going to get to the clinic and get contraceptions.
Okay.
We were talking about it.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about it.
And that was right before you got saved?
Right before we got saved. Yeah, and then we get saved and then God steps on the scene and all of that is just being preserved. After Pastor Bennett gave us the talk, we were just friends. It was very hard, Rachel. I really felt rejected. I felt like maybe he wants one of the other holier girls in church or whatever. But he would always make sure to connect with me. Like there would never be a time where he never calls or he never comes to check on me at home. He would always be there, he'll always show up. It was as if we never even broke up. But I know you broke up with me. I'm taking it as you've dumped me, but he never distanced himself.
But you just put it on pause, like let's change the dynamic.
Dynamics, yes. Okay. It did change and then...
So how long were you guys saved in the church living for God before you became a relationship again?
A year.
Okay.
Because then he finishes school and he gets a job. Immediately gets a job. And then immediately he finds a place to stay because now he's on to what Pastor Bennett is saying. So he's making plans for us to get married. In my mind, I'm like, okay, but I'm also thinking it's just a fairy tale. It won't really happen now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, no, it's just for future. He gets a place. I'm still in school. I'm in grade 12. The talk starts getting serious, especially towards the end of the year. Beginning of 2012, after I matriculated, thank God I passed my matric, and then talks began in 2012, August, we got married. It was a hard one, but yeah.
What do you mean a hard one?
The way our family took it, they didn't take it very lightly. It was...
So even though you've been with Shannon forever, they didn't want you to get married?
No. In our society, you don't just get married, Rachel. You get married after 30 years.
Yeah. You must do your schooling. You must have a couple kids. You must...
Yes, you must work for the house, work for your mom. So, funny story, it was an event at church, and then that Sunday evening, the family called a meeting, trying to discourage us from getting married, telling us what babies we are, how I'm still a child, how am I going to be a wife or a mother? You just finished school, you have your whole life ahead of you. How can you jump into this? If she's pregnant, we'll take care of the baby, we'll help you guys. I know that Shannon is working or whatever. Then we're still resisting. We're like, no, we're going to do it. And then they say, no, just get engaged then. Just stay engaged.
That's what everyone says.
Don't jump into this thing called marriage. Don't get married yet. We'll help you with the wedding. We'll pay for it. You'll have a nice, beautiful wedding 2 years from now. And they're making all these promises. And Shannon is like, no, we're doing it. We're doing it August with or without you guys. And then my mom kicks me out that night. And I end up living with Melissa and her mom just for a week because I've never been away from my mom. She says that God dealt with her and he told her that it's going to be okay. So she'll let me go. It was quite emotional.
So this whole time, did she ever come to church with you?
Yes, she came on and off, invite her for revivals.
Okay.
And
how old were you when you met Shannon?
I was 15 when we started talking. That year, we turned 16.
Because you're 1 day older than him.
Yes.
And how long have you been married now? In August, how many years was it?
It was 11 years. 11?
12?
12? Huh?
Oh, I think it's 12.
Are you sure?
You said 2012. It's 2024, so that's 12 years.
I haven't been counting.
I'm telling Shannon.
His was.
So 12 years.
12 years, yes.
And so in that time, I know you've been in the ministry. Knowing how things go after marriage, it was probably not too long where you guys were like, boom, ministry.
Yes. So soon after we got married, Shannon was already on staff as what you would call a door director now, just after we got married.
Okay.
So then he did school ministry, I remember.
Okay. And then when did you get sent out to your first church?
I was pregnant with Logan.
Okay.
A few months pregnant with Logan.
Okay. So 2013. Because she wasn't born until March and conferences August, September.
Yes, that was the first time.
And where did you go the first time?
Vlakfontein.
Okay.
You know how the stories go around buildings and whatever. So that started dragging, and then Pastor Bennett obviously brought us back on staff. And then we went to Bella Vista. We were just there for a year and a couple of months, and then we came back.
On staff?
Yes. Then from coming back on staff, now I've got Shiloh. Then Shiloh is a year, a couple of months. Then we take over from Dorothy and her husband in Annandale.
Okay.
COVID hits. Then we come back. And then you guys came.
So when we got here, that was your third time on staff?
Yes.
Wow. So 3 churches. Shawel is the 4th church.
Shawel is the 4th. Yes.
And when you were on staff, was it just assisting ministries?
Assisting ministries, outreach ministries, door directing basically.
Okay.
We lived right next door. We would open and close. There were occasions where I would help with cleaning when the cleaning lady's not around.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want to touch real quick before we close. Your mom, I met your mom.
Yes.
When we got here, she was coming off and on. She would come pretty faithfully on a Sunday morning. And then something happened. You said her husband. This was the same guy. He ended up divorcing his other wife. And then now he married your mom.
Yes. After myself and Shannon got married, I already had Logie. Logie was like 2. So they got married, started building a life together, but then the demon in religiosity just came out all the more. Now he doesn't want her to go to church. Whenever she does come to church, it's gonna be on when she gets home. There would be arguments and fights to a point where I used to feel like maybe I should just leave her alone. But I know she needs Jesus. I know the spiritual bread that we're getting fed here, you need to hear this, you know.
Yeah.
especially when Pastor Heimberg came with the Sunday school mornings. I mean, it's a new pastor and it feels like revival. So I'm like, come in here. So yeah, it will always be a fight. Then she stopped coming. But every time when she would give in like that, she would slip into depression. She'll be very withdrawn, very silent, very quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not herself, edgy, not wanting to come out, not wanting to do anything.
Wow. And then if you want to share a bit about her passing, how she passed away and how the latest member of your family came to be.
Okay, so Micah used to live with her. She raised him because both mom and dad are unstable.
And Micah is your nephew?
My nephew, yes. And he's always been in the picture. I mean, people know Micah from when he was a baby. I would bring him to church. He's well acquainted with the church, so he's been with us like for a while. So my mom's passing was very sudden, Rachel. I remember the Monday morning, we were on our way to Oudtshoorn to visit Pastor PT and Warren and them. So we're excited. We're going on a trip. We decide we're going to take a bus because the girls has never been on a bus. They only see the bus and we're like, let's make it exciting. Let's go on the bus. She came to say goodbye that morning. She was fine. She was the one that said, hey, don't run. Let's pray. So we gathered together in a circle. We prayed together. Little did I know it was the last time. Looking back, it was a blessed one. Shannon prayed and we said our goodbyes, hugs and kisses. I last spoke to her the early evening, 7-ish. She wanted to know how the girls were enjoying the bus trip. And then I asked her how she was doing because she seemed a bit offish. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just feeling tired. She was quite bubbly. And then later, like about midnight, my brother called to tell me that she's not breathing. He was hysterical. He doesn't know what to do. And I tell him I'm on a bus. I'm not home. He's like, okay, I'm going to rush her to the emergency services at the fire station. So when they get there, she has already passed on. So that was very quick.
Did they figure out what happened? She just stopped breathing?
Micah's dad lived with her at the time. He said she just woke up midnight and she said she's not breathing and she called him. She said she's going outside. She obviously also woke her husband and she went outside trying to breathe. And I'm thinking it's a heart attack. I don't know.
Wow.
She didn't complain of any pain, they said. She just couldn't breathe.
So you get back, but now
we have to do the funeral and everything.
And you take care of Micah because Micah's been living with her.
Yes. This instability is not good for Micah. So I take him and he lives with myself and Shannon. It was actually Shannon's idea.
Yeah.
So he's with us and he's been stable ever since, doing well in school.
And then very shortly after that, you find out you're pregnant with Deanna.
God blessed me with little Deanna. I was very excited. It was really a replacement for the void left with mom's passing and all that. It really did shift my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets born on the day that my mom passed away.
And she's named after your mom?
Yes. And she's quite cheeky and feisty, just like my mom.
That's cool.
Yeah, but she's so much of a joy and discovered new purpose again, like new life again, and life just goes on.
Yeah. As we close, looking back over your whole life, you mentioned a couple times how you were spared from a lot. If you want to leave us with encouragement for anyone that's listening, is there something specifically that stands out, when you look back?
I'm grateful for God's covering because when I look back on my life, I just see God's fingerprints all over me since I've known myself. God has always protected me. A lot could have happened, which didn't happen. I used to think or always say that my testimony is boring. I actually dreaded in my mind the day of you calling me to come and share my testimony because I feel like I don't have a testimony. I have nothing exciting to share. But what I can say to anyone listening who also feels like their life is boring or they don't have much to share, it's that God has kept me for a reason and a purpose. And I'm grateful for his covering over my life. I must say, I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was missing my mom a bit, but then I thought about all the chaos and everything that she's been through and things that I've seen and experienced with her. I am actually twice the woman my mother was when she was my age. She died at the age of 60. I lost her at the age of 30, meaning that she conceived me when she was also 30. She never had a stable marriage. She never had a stable home. Mm-hmm. I have that. I'm living for God, not religiously, but devoted.
Yeah.
Something that she struggled to have. I know God on such a personal level, like so closely. And God has just kept me, and I can see the big difference. When we talk about generational curses being broken off, this is exactly where I am. A generational curse has been broken off from my life of divorce. All my kids are from the same house, from the same father. Me being a housewife, it's a miracle because she always used to have to work all her life. The way I relate and love and take care of my kids, she didn't have that. I do. For me, that's a miracle.
Absolutely.
And that is what God can do for you if you surrender your life to Him wholeheartedly, not just halfway or a little bit. He really can turn the tables, bring that 180 change. We don't have to be like our parents. We don't have to suffer the same things or make the same mistakes. We can learn from those mistakes. I'm living in answered prayers. I have so much to be grateful for, Rachel. Sometimes people think it's impossible. Sometimes people think you were born saved. We weren't born saved. It's a work of God, and I'm grateful for that. Do you think you don't have a testimony or there's nothing to share because it's not spiced up like other people's lives? A life that was kept? What can I say?
No, that's very true. That's a perfect way to close, because oftentimes we think when it's not mayhem, drugs, abuse, alcohol, all different kinds of people listen, and we're all from different backgrounds. And the fact that you can recognize that even though you saw a lot of the chaos around you, you didn't have to repeat it.
I didn't have
to live it.
Something inside me didn't want that.
Yeah.
It's only by God's grace, not because I'm wonderful, but it's all God.
Absolutely. I want to say thank you again for taking the time and sharing that, because every story matters. Every story counts, whether it's, like you said, is spiced up or if it's not spiced up. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you listening. I say this all the time, but without a listener, the story can't be heard. I encourage you, please share this episode or other episodes with people. Don't underestimate the power of a transformed life. Lastly, if you are not a Christian, or like Cherie said, maybe you're caught up in this religiosity, examine your heart and ask yourself the serious question of, if you were to die, where would you go? And if that is not the answer that you want, you can have a changed life. John 3:16 says God sent His only Son to pay the price for our sin. Just acknowledge your sin, ask Jesus to forgive you of that sin, and you too can have a different story. Until next time, this is Rachel Heimberg, and you've been listening to the 20th episode of Not the Same.